I'm Julia Parker, an honors program senior at Georgia Southern University. Dr. Kyle Marrero began his tenure as Georgia Southern's 14th president on April 1st, 2019. As president, he leads the Eagle Nation, a Carnegie R2 institution with more than 27,000 students and 3,000 faculty and staff on 3 campuses in Statesboro, Savannah, and Hinesville, Georgia. Under his direction, Georgia Southern has established a new culture of high performance and evidence-based leadership, data-informed decision-making, communication transparency, and an unwavering focus on a new strategic plan and assessment methodology aligned with the 5 main pillars: student success, teaching and research, inclusive excellence, operational efficiency, effectiveness and sustainability, and community engagement. This alignment has led to staggering successes in recent years, with the university seeing record-breaking numbers in private fundraising, faculty research, freshman enrollment, graduation rates, and freshman to sophomore year retention rates. Dr. Marrero serves on the board of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, the Statesboro Bullitt County Chamber of Commerce, the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, World Trade Center Savannah, and East Georgia Regional Medical Center, and was named in 2022 as one of Georgia's Trend's 100 Most Influential Georgians. He holds a Doctor of Musical Arts degree from the University of Michigan and a bachelor's and master's in vocal performance from Bowling Green State University. His background in the arts has taken him to 10 countries as an artistic ambassador for the United States embassies and 40 states as a singer, stage director, and artistic director. He has been married to the nationally acclaimed opera singer, Dr. Jane Redding, for 25 years, and they are blessed with a beautiful daughter named Lily. Please help me in announcing or inviting up Dr. Marrero.
Thank you, Julia. This is what it's all about, is our students, our Parker Scholars. So Julia, thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate it. Well, when Michael Traynor and Joe McGlamory asked me if I could be a speaker here, I said, as long as I'm not following Stedman, but truly it should have been that I wasn't following the Honorable Michael Thurmond. Wasn't that incredible? He's awesome. So I've been the president. Yes, I started on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 3 years ago, and it's coming up on my anniversary. And I'm excited to be here to tell you a little about Georgia Southern, but also about what I assume all of you have faced also with whatever industry, whatever corporate environment, whatever business you're leading, and that these 3 years in particular have been years of adaptation, of change, of urgency around that, a way in which to think new ways in which we move forward. And for us, it's building a culture of high performance, accountability, and continuous improvement. That's what's critical for Georgia Southern as we move forward today. So as I go through, I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, my background, which is a little different than most presidents, I'd have to say. And as you heard from my wife earlier, acclaimed opera singer, I was also an opera singer. All my degrees are in music. When I listen, it's not country music, it's not rock and roll, it is opera, though I do like a little bit of hard rock, I have to say. A little bit there, a little Def Leppard, maybe. Anyone else? Okay. Well, so I'm going to take you through a little bit of who we are as an institution. We have 4 campuses, actually 3 here in Georgia. Of course, Statesboro, the Savannah, the Armstrong campus, Hinesville. We're an institution of over 27,000 students. As Julia said, we have 141 programs of study. We are a Carnegie Research Extensive institution. There's only 280 institutions that are Carnegie classified either R1 or R2. We're an R2. For us, really that means a public research agenda that's focused on five critical areas that align with the economic growth of our region. And I want to highlight those real quickly. Advanced manufacturing, clearly important for us. Our new engineering building that we'll talk about has the ability to design robotics, artificial intelligence, and advanced manufacturing floors of the future, which is critical to the I-16, I-95 corridor as we bring in more and more manufacturing. Logistics, supply chain, technology solutions. In fact, we're opening in partnership with CETA, with Savannah State, with our other partner, Savannah Tech. Kathy's here with us today, and you'll hear from my wonderful colleague colleague, Kimberly Bowder-Washington, today, later. Great partnership with Savannah State. We'll have 20 startups this year with Plug and Play around the logistics, supply chain technology solutions area. Critical for us. Water quality and coastal resilience we'll be working on, and community and health and wellness. So for our areas of public impact research, I want you to think about that as we enliven that, as we move that forward. It's to have impact on our region, both economically, talent development, and discovery and solutions. That's what we are. So with our 3 campuses, and the 4th, if you didn't know, Hinesville, of course, I have to give Michelle a shout out. She's here with the Downtown Hinesville Authority. Hey, Michelle. That is our 3rd actual physical campus of our 27,000 students, and we have a campus in Wexford, Ireland. In fact, it's only us, Notre Dame, and Boston College that have campuses in Ireland, and we're thrilled we'll be reopening that here in May with students there. We're excited about the future that that has for us. So as we move forward, and you think of us, think of an institution that's in rise, in motion, continually improving, and having challenging times, but they're challenges that have been here even before really we started. So I'm going to walk and talk also. I was raised Presbyterian, frozen chosen, but I am now Baptist, so I'm going to walk forward here, okay? So there you go. So some of these challenges are the same challenges that you may have in your business, but higher ed faced these early on, actually. I mean, the higher ed climate, certainly the relevance value of higher ed, return on investment. I mean, think about it. The phone that Michael Thurman was holding up. Think about what that also is. That's knowledge. You can obtain knowledge on that phone. How many of you, when you want to look something up, what do? You immediately go to your phone, right? You Google it, because you can find out. Do you need us? Do you need higher education? Do you need a degree? What is the value of that degree? What is the return on investment? What is the cost versus then the trajectory of a career and what that'll be and the relevance of that? That really, the last 10 years, has been the major question across the United States. Seriously, as we really think about the debt incurred and then the earning power, will that degree actually help your career and launch it further along that way? I'd like to believe yes. And I fight every day to make sure and tell that story to our students, to our communities, to parents. But for us, it was not only that, but the higher ed climate, and then also disruption. For us, specifically, at Georgia Southern, clearly consolidation. Yes, I've said the word out loud, consolidation. I really wanted to come here. I had been a president at the University of West Georgia for 6 years previously in the university system. I knew about Georgia Southern. I really loved Savannah and Armstrong campus and all it stood for and the opportunities in Hinesville. I chose this. I wanted this job because I wanted to be part of the solutions that could have an impact of 3 campuses in one region and what that could do to leverage and elevate, build talent along this spectrum, this Southeast Georgia opportunity, which we all agree is the greatest growth opportunity in the state of Georgia right now. So as we work through all of these challenges, we also had over here accountability. I mean, it's a legislative session. I spend a lot of time answering questions to legislators, how we use that formula funding. They write one check to the University System of Georgia, 26 institutions, of $2.6 billion. And that accountability, that ability to say, this is your return on those taxpayers' investments in us and what that means. We have to assume that fully and realize it and not be defensive about it, but then at the same time relay our mission, who we are, what we stand for, what's important at the end of the day. And then, of course, when we look at this last one with our little COVID cell there, it's a scary cell right now, I tell you what. Budget, for us, it was, as we went into the revenue collections of the state, particularly as we headed into from fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 21, 10.8% reduction in formula funding to all USG institutions. We had enrollment decline through consolidation. For us, it was $34.1 million over 3 years, reduction in recurring allocation to Georgia Southern University, and 302 positions that we eliminated along this way. It was a tough time. My first 90 days, not a lot of honeymoon. I had to make $26 million of reductions within the first 90 days at an institution that had never seen those type of reductions before. But we assumed those challenges at the same time. And social unrest. certainly in my adult life, coming through and understanding how do we lead an institution through this. And think of a campus environment with 18 to 24-year-olds. Anything that's happening in the United States, the social unrest, the questioning of who we are, what we stand for, put a magnifying glass over it, times it by 10, and think about that's what our campuses feel like. They're at the intersection of everything we go through as a nation, everything we are catalysts of social change. That's your universities. We should be proud of that and embrace that as we move forward. So these were our challenges and remain our challenges through all of this. So you'll hear me often say, I know a lot of my team members are here today, I always say, when you're faced with challenge, you must lead from your values to your goals. Don't become defensive in terms of what you're going to do. Don't become reactive, but go back to the very basics of what is our mission, what is the critical outcomes we must achieve as an institution, and we lead from those values, from those mission, from that vision of what we must do, what we must accomplish. And for us, the center of that universe always has to be our student success. That's the retention, progression, the continuation of their degree progress. So we had to focus on that through COVID. So that meant being open in some manner that would still mitigate and ensure the safety of our faculty, staff, and students. And then also clearly the financial, fiscal sustainability of the institution. So those became our three bedrocks of how we were going to lead from those values to then our goals as we moved forward. So when you're faced with transformational change, clearly either thrust upon you by COVID, social unrest, budget, or just the environment we talked about the value of higher education, and you need that urgency, that sense of change. Here, I wrote this out because I really wanted, I'm a musician, but I always think mathematically. I think, what are the pieces and parts? What's the recipe? What do you have to have within an organizational structure, and particularly higher ed for us, to lead transformational change, to really ensure it has impact, that it's going to move forward, that it's going to stick, that it's going to have legacy. And for us, it was committed leadership. Make sure we have the right people on our team, the right people that would be bringing innovative thoughts, that would think about what we do every single day from a spectrum of how are we in a continuous improvement cycle? How do we get better at getting better every single day? And getting that team together, I'm proud to say our team at Georgia Southern, we're now in motion working together as a unit. That sense of urgency, well, we didn't have to fight real hard for that. We had budget cuts. We had a lot in front of us. We had to fight our way through and keep moving, so that urgency was there. It was almost the opposite, to keep everybody calm, to make sure they stayed focused to what exactly they need to accomplish every single day. We needed a strategic plan, which we built within the first 3 months, that's carrying us all the way to 2026 now. A vision and a mission. And I'm going to talk a lot, not just about the mission, our center core of student success as an outcome in everything we do, but then our vision. I'll talk about some really important words, and I'm proud of that vision. I'll tell it to you in a moment. Commitment to transparency in all processes. Look, my mom always used to tell me, don't tell me anything, son, or everything, because it scares me when you tell me everything that you've done every single night. But that was my DNA and every part of who I was, is if you don't tell everybody everything that's happening, you're never going to build what? Trust. So you must have that center of your core, the engagement, the active communication, and that will then build trust and that transparency, even when it's bad news. Even when it's bad news, is going to get everybody on board and helping and trying to be part of solution making, because they see the same obstacles you do. As I always say when I'm on staff council or faculty senate, is I want you to lose the same sleep I'm losing. And I want to harness the intellectual capacity of the entirety of our faculty and staff. That's true shared governance. A commitment to active communication, as I said, commitment, and this is important, to highlight the success of our individuals, our units, our departments, those that are behaving and doing the work that's moving the institution forward through this. Highlight them, bring that up. If you aren't celebrating the successes of each and every student, employee within your organization, and using that as a model, and then actually not just celebrating and recognizing, but then actually budgeting, funding, and financially seeing those benefits, you won't get the performance you want and need every single day. And then on the opposite end of that, there has to be within your organization accountability and consequences. Because no one likes to work someplace where you're killing yourself, you're working so much harder than everybody else, but that person over there is not pulling their weight, and there are no consequences, and nothing is happening there. That will kill the culture of any organization. So there must be consequences. Now, I should have an eagle at the top flying away, not a rocket ship, but there you go. You get the point. These are really the ingredients that are needed. So I want to show you this slide because we asked this slide. I asked it in my State of the Universities. I ask it in my leadership teams when we meet in our leadership development institutes. I've probably shown this slide, maybe 10, 15 times, but it's a constant question that we should be asking, and I hope you're asking of your organizations. And it is, in the next 5 years, if we perform exactly as we have in the past 5 years, will we get what? About the same, worse, much worse, better, or much better? In your organizations, how many of you, what would you answer on this? Worse. Because as you're holding firm and doing everything exactly the same, market is shifting. Market is changing. I can tell you for us, in 2026 to 2031, it's called the demographic cliff. And you can go back to 2008 to 2013 where there are less births in the nation. There's a 15% decline in population of 18-year-olds from 2026 to 2031. For us, when our entire business is 18-year-olds, we have to know that. We have to be ready for that market shift. It's a little better in Georgia because of migration into Georgia. It's only about 11% being predicted. So we have to look at other markets. We have to adapt. Adult completers, graduate students, all the different types of students, military, et cetera, where we can adapt to those markets to ensure that we're relevant, that our enrollment stays the same, and we continue to move and have impact to the region, as we've said. This top part is really a phrase I love. It is recognizing, it's incentivizing, it's insisting on our leadership team, our organization, always acting in adaptive leadership to recognize and act on what matters. It's another way to say leading from your values to your goals, but it's with the courage to bring new ideas, to try things, to fail, to ideate, assess, and that entire cycle move as fast as it can. But you have to have the courage to try and to adapt. So how do we get there at Georgia Southern? What do we believe in? We've coined this sort of term of performance evidence. It's really performance excellence. It's evidence-based leadership and a culture of high performance. What does that mean? For us, we believe that investing in our people, that an engaged faculty and staff is critical to creating an environment in which students can succeed inside the classroom and in life. And to create engagement, we need to ensure that all the contributors, everyone, faculty, staff, and students understand their value. That's critical. Their value and their contribution to the whole. How will we get there? It's culture. You've all heard this. It's an old saying. Culture eats strategy for breakfast every single day. Doesn't matter how good your plan is. Doesn't matter how much I wave my arms and how excited I get in front of my faculty and staff and how I cast this vision. If they don't see themselves in the success of the institution. And really, if I had to be critical at all for the last 3-5 years, really, it was 2018 that consolidation was announced. It was 2017, I suppose, and 2019 it was official. I mean, this isn't being recorded or anything, right? All right. The university system at Georgia is incredible. I think it's one of the best systems in the United States. Well, when it does consolidation, it gives a bunch of workbooks. And it gives you all the plans of how you're going to consolidate and bring multiple cultures together. You just follow this, there it is, it happens, right? And you go through, set your organizational structure. It should work. Just follow the plan. What did they forget? There's people involved. Human beings who want to know what is the value added, how will this be better for me? And that's the story we have to tell every day and spend every day in this cultural transformative movement that promotes an environment in which all individuals know and own their roles and responsibilities in achieving the aspirational vision of Georgia Southern University. Everybody needs to be able to talk about our vision. I'll start at the bottom. Our vision is not like any other vision in higher ed, and I'm really, really proud of that. Most vision statements are, Georgia Southern aspires to be the leader in global competencies and research as heralded by U.S. News and World Report or something. It's something like that. Ours gets to the core of how we will continuously improve, and it is our people. Our people are our greatest assets. That's defined by our faculty, our staff, our students, our communities in which we serve. They come to higher ed because they believe in the transformational power of education. They're there because they believe there's a higher purpose in what they do every single day. And with that purpose, they drive it into actions, delineated actions of which we track throughout, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And those actions are that we're in a constant state of improvement, of development, of growth. That growth isn't just for our own sake. It isn't just to be better faculty, better staff members, better students, better, more enriched, vibrant communities, but it's as individuals so that we can then grow, so that we can impact others and help them grow. So it's always an inside-out aspect. Anyone that studies industrial psychology knows that growth of L1 to L5 leadership along that way, we become stagnant about L3, which is where we're still, the world's doing it to us. It's outside in, right? If only the university system would let us do X, Y, and Z. If only the Board of Regents, if only the governor, as opposed to, no. What if we are in control? What if we're in a constant state of improvement and growth, ourselves individually, ourselves corporately, to impact others? What if Georgia Southern and its 3 campuses enrich the entirety of communities because we're constantly pressing out, helping others grow, because our growth has become so immense, we want to share that along the way. And it gets down to so that every single individual on our campus, faculty and staff, know what to do every day. I know that sounds funny to say it that simply, but how many of you work in an environment where it's so clear within your job descriptions, expectation of your supervisor that you know what to do every day to be successful? It is so clear. How many of you actually feel that way? 1, 2, okay, 3, right? Then has that supervisor, that institution, corporation, whatever you're working for, do you know why you're doing what you do every day? In other words, how does it fit in to what the organization, the corporation, for us, the institution, want to accomplish? Because what I want every faculty and staff member on our campus to be able to say is, if you stop them, say, oh, what do you do at Georgia Southern, right? And they say, yeah, and you say, well, why do you do that? Why is it important? Well, I'm a faculty member in engineering. I prepare engineers for the future. I help them discover new ways in which in advanced manufacturing we can move forward together, right? Okay, then how does that help the university accomplish its goal? Well, we're trying to build economic talent development for the entire reason. They're able to express it and they understand how critically important each individual is. I mean, think about higher ed. It's the most broken organization ever created on the face of the earth. It was based on an Oxford model in the 14th century and a bunch of divisions, right? And silos across the way. And then we hire a bunch of independent contractors called faculty. And then we only evaluate them on their teaching, their scholarly and creative activity, and their service as individuals, not in alignment to the institution, just what they're doing individually. And then we wonder why they don't feel at all engaged or aligned with the institution. That's what we're trying to flip on ed, so that people, purpose, action, growing ourselves to grow others, and everyone is engaged, and this is the bolded part in solution making. Come to one of my faculty Senate meetings. It may take a year off your life, but it's really important to be there, because what you hear is critical commentary, but you also hear people bringing solutions. It's easy to be critical. It's the old adage, you're pointing, what are the other 3 fingers doing? Pointing back at yourself. Be critical, but then bring solutions along the way so we can be in a constant state of improvement. I can tell you, a constant state of improvement is not comfortable. Is it easy for me, my provost, Carl Reiber, who's back there, hey, Carl, to be on calls with faculty, staff, and Senate and meeting with the people that we have the pleasure and privilege of working with, of serving, and to hear they aren't happy? That's not easy. It's challenging. It's difficult along this way. The truth is, it is difficult. It's messy, won't be perfect. That's critical. I'm so far from perfect. I live in this wonderful place of just continuous failure, but I keep trying. Bring another idea. Let's work it hard. Let's beat it through and see if it can actually be the solution. Change, culture improvement, meaningful transformation, and it all comes back, and I love Michael Thurman. Boy, I'm going to listen to that a couple times over and over again, because really what he's saying is it is about engagement with all people, listening to everyone that we have the pleasure, our communities, our faculty, staff, everyone that we serve, our students, and engaging them in everything we do. So how do we build engagement? I'm going to go quickly here because this is the pieces and parts of what we've done at Georgia Southern to ensure that we have engagement that's working purposely towards the outcomes of what we've stated. So I know it's small, but a couple quick things. You may not know this, but if you go to our website right now and you go to georgiasouthern.edu/performance-excellence, right? Or you can go through the president's page and get there too. You will see all of our balanced scorecards. I have a balanced scorecard. My vice presidents, my cabinet leaders have balanced scorecard. We also put our 90-day actions towards the goals we've stated, and then an assessment after each 90 days how we have done on that. That's accountability, that's transparency, and it keeps us focused and working with what we know is critical to our improvement. We've used some of the most difficult times, our budget, for instance, and others, to evidence transparency in our communications. We also post all of our budget work. Every single line that we've either cut or we're investing in and what we're going to do and why we're going to do, we present it in open town halls, at faculty senate, staff council, because I don't know about you, but your home relationships, what can be the biggest divide in any single relationship? Money. And the minute faculty and staff don't know what's happening, particularly in tough times or even good times, if you aren't honest, transparent, using that entire process that we use from bottom up all the way from unit to department, all the way through college, up to the cabinet level, making decisions, sharing that transparently, you use that opportunity to evidence it. And then we have basically alignment of not only institutional goals, but we align that throughout the entirety of the institution from the department all the way up through. We've also taken 70 of our leaders across the campus at about dean level and above, and we've done this, it's really cool actually. We've done a Myers-Briggsian device, a golden personality, and so we can understand why that other person bugs the crap out of me over there, because they just are completely different than I am, but they're incredibly valuable because they have a different perspective of how they're looking along the way. And so we've done that, and then we have broken them up into groups of 4 and 5 and cross-mentoring groups, and then with the Leadership Development Institutes, we have every single quarter where we press into growth areas. They then hold each other accountable to those growth goals, and then they become a support group, all different personalities, and we do that across the institution with 70 leaders in a constant state of growth. Then we have team structures throughout. It's so many different committees, you think it's crazy, but it's purposeful. It's everything from inclusive excellence to communication to our strategic plan that then look through and assess how we're doing, that assess our key performance indicators throughout that. We also then have our annual employment engagement survey, which it's actually the second year. Today, February 28th, we're launching our second full annual engagement survey. It's called the Employment Engagement Survey. What is it? It's about 54 questions, and it goes into climate. What do you feel about the environment? Are you aligned with the mission and vision? And then it actually goes, we load it with HR information directly to your supervisor. 5 questions. Is your supervisor providing an environment in which you can grow? Is your supervisor providing you the support? And it has their name populated in the survey. We did it last year. We piloted it. We did it two weeks, open, right? And it wasn't mandatory. You didn't have to do it. We have 3,000 employees. What percentage of engagement, of participation in a voluntary survey, what's a good percentage to get? 20%? Anybody else? We had 77.1% participation. Yeah. 780 pages of single-space comments. But I can tell you, they shared everything they felt. It took a bottle or two of wine to get through, but we got through it. And we read it. And guess what? We even shared the comments. We shared them. Because if you can't look in the mirror and see where you are, what you're facing, how your people feel about working with you and in our environment, how can we ever improve? Second iteration starts today for 2 weeks. I'll let you know how we do. We roll out those surveys, not just do the survey, but then the survey develops an action plan that every supervisor, it's mandatory for them to build 3 areas of growth, of improvement, of whatever they are supervising, whether it's a department, whether it's a unit, whether it's a division, or for me, the institution. That is mandatory for every leader, because at Georgia Southern, if you're going to supervise human beings, I'm going to hold you accountable to the environment of which you are creating at your institution, at our institution, as we move forward. And then recognizing employee reward and recognition. Our big annual award ceremony will be in April, and we do that every year now. And then the last one, as I said earlier, is our commitment to continuous growth. Every quarter, all 70 of those leaders have an LDI, a full-day retreat, of which we press into leadership. We always dedicate the February one to inclusive excellence to ensure we're continuously training and growing in that area, and I'll talk about that in a bit. We also have faculty development days and staff development days, continuous growth and development. All right, that's a very busy slide, but I want you all to absorb that for a second. So this is where I shift from ideology to how we doing. And I'm going to be transparent, because I'm going to tell you, 3 years in, everything's not perfect. It's still hard every single day. So when we think about transformational change or organizational change, there's really 4 key areas in this. It's that first honeymoon. I didn't have a honeymoon, darn it. It didn't feel like one as I cut $26 million from the budget, but we use that opportunity to really press forward. And as you read those pieces and parts of it, you know, there's that sense there's somebody new. He's new. Maybe he's interesting. Well, I was the 5th president in 5 years. They were just thinking. I mean, one of the fraternities had Valentine candy on the February before I started on April 1st that said, "This Valentine candy will last longer than a Georgia Southern president." So that's how I came in. But that honeymoon usually starts with a new leader at some point, and then about 6 months, a year in, particularly if you're pressing into change, what sets in? Oh, well, wait a minute. This is harder than we thought. You're serious about this, right? You're actually going to press into things that you change. Now, that's that person. I'm on board. I'm good. But you need to be looking over there. That person over there isn't doing everything, right? You know, this will impact me. Change for all. Some are getting it faster. Some are not and may not. This uncomfortable gap, though, is critical in every organization as it changes, as it presses through to innovation, to adaptation. It's when really you start to see the difference between those that want to move the organization forward and those that are, right? It's the old adage of the boat. You know, you got 3 or 4 paddling like crazy, moving as hard as they can. The ones in the middle are just saying, I'm going to paddle a little bit, just kind of go along. Let's see how far this goes. And then the other 2 are throwing anchors in the back and punching holes in it just to see, to make sure it doesn't go any further. That's really, if I had to be honest, I think we're bridging through the uncomfortable gap where process improvement increases due to accountability and skill level. We're getting better. We're making tough decisions. Inconsistencies about that, if not fixed, will halt progress, sending organization backwards. We're there. We're pressing into then where it is every day, our culture and everything that we're moving forward. But for me, that was critical, because if we're going to be a good partner to the region, we better have our own act together. Because if you want to partner with Georgia Southern, I want you to know that we are going to deliver every single day. So how does that look like? This is an interesting graph, and one that you may or may not have seen before. I steal stuff from Lencioni, Cotter, everybody Collins, so nothing's entirely original other than I've made it make sense in my own brain. But this is really this sense of high performers, middle performers, and low performers in any of your organization, right? That's going back to recognizing success, rewarding success individually, but then also accountability and consequences. As any organization, particularly higher ed, moves forward, and that we're getting those high performers, you're worried a little bit about burnout of the high performers. They're the ones that you're always calling on. They're the usual suspects doing incredible work for you. The middle are going along. They're improving. They're coming along, right? But then you always have that 20% or so within any organization that is just not really wanting to move forward, or they aren't engaged, or this isn't part of their aspiration to be part of the organization. So this is what normally happens. In higher ed, we usually get a committee and we study it for 2 years and do nothing, but we publish a really beautiful report. That's what usually happens in higher ed. But for us, we're driving through this because what happens if you don't keep pressing? Then in essence, results decline. Everything you're trying to achieve then gets tabled, gets pushed off. We have a beautiful strategic plan, but it is a living, breathing document of every day of continuous improvement. So our goal is to get over that wall, to press forward through it, and continue what we have stated we're going to do. We're going to measure success, continue to adapt, continually move forward. So how do we get there? It is a continual process of communicating the why and how and ask. And this is Michael Thurman, brilliant. Now what? What if? What if Georgia Southern could be everything we say we're going to do? What if we're able to accomplish everything we've stated? We've set a 2026 goals. I've published them. They're out there. They're on the website where we want to be by fall of 2026. We believe we can be that institution. And people go, why are you saying that out loud? You might fail. You may not get there. Great. But we're going to be better than we are today because we've tried. We've pressed forward. We've said we're going to do it. We've embraced disruption. Remember, these efforts are to continuously improve, to transfer lives, sustaining this journey, to grow ourselves, to grow others. Say it with me. Grow ourselves to grow others. Wake up, ready, and grow ourselves to grow others. Excellent. Well, that was a little zombie-like, but good, good. All right, all right. So what do we do in communication? And this is key because you're probably going, boy, that's a lot of stuff that Marrero's doing there, stuff. But it isn't. This is the way we do what we do, not in addition to what we're doing. It's the manner in which we move forward. It isn't additional stuff. It's changing our culture, embedding it, all of this in the normal life of the organization, aligning it, our leadership challenge to model and communicate how all of this fits together and how we'll get there from here. So, really, the last 3 years, as we now heading past sort of this time where we're all praying we're in the endemic stage of COVID-19, where we're really pressing forward and trying to understand what that future is, what I want you to know about Georgia Southern is we're in a constant state of solving, evolving, and adapting. That's the only way this institution, as big as it is, with 27,000 students, 3,000 employees, 3 campuses, 4 if you count Ireland, how we're going to make it through. And, you know, there's words that I use a lot too, and they may or may not have meaning to you, but I say a lot, timely and timeless. Timely is we have to be knowing, you know, it's the old adage, to skate where the puck's going to be. Where do we need to be by 2026 in higher ed? How do we adjust to market? How do we ensure we're continuously relevant? Stackable credentials. The Googles and the Amazons are going to enter the academic environment. They're already dabbling in it. And as soon as they figure out how to get stackable credentials that employees will actually go, all right, that's good enough for me. You don't need a bachelor's degree. We're in deep doo-doo. Excuse my French. I think that's French, right? Doo-doo. All right. But so we have to adapt and change in that timely environment so that we're meeting market where it is. But then timeless. What are the parts of higher education that will never change? And this is what's really interesting to me. We get legislative requests, et cetera, and they say, we want globally ready citizens that can be critical thinkers, problem solvers, right? Yes. Yes. Amen to that. All my degrees are in music. Either I'm a complete fraud or all of that music actually helped me be a decent university president. So we have to believe and understand that the traits of knowledge, of critical thinking, of problem solving may actually come from the humanities at times. Oh my goodness, did he really say that? Yes, I said that. It's true. That it may come from pressing into diversity, equity, and inclusion and ensuring that every member of our campus, faculty, staff, and students feel welcome on our campus and have a path to success. Because we don't want to graduate a student that can't enter your workplace and understand global competency, cultural competencies, and be able to be a team player that appreciates every person they work for and understands that. If we fail in that, you don't want to hire our graduates. So I agree, my hand goes up high, that we want to graduate students. That is the timely aspect, or timeless aspect, I should say, of what we must all insist and agree upon. We may think there's different paths to get there, but my job, our job as community, is to continue to communicate that it takes all of those areas. So how do? We got through COVID-19. It wasn't easy, but we were the most open of any of the institutions in the university system, and we grew. We grew through that. We were part of our notification team. We built our own CARES notification team for contact tracing, where there's a 4-hour turnaround to make sure that every case on our campus was isolated, and the contact traced were then separated within 4 hours. That got us through. We were part of vaccine deployment. We adapted 5,000 courses and made it work. As I said, we grew in fall of 21 with record freshman classes and 4% overall growth of all of our campuses. And for us, that meant we were 1 out of 5 of the 26 institutions, the only one south of I-20, that grew over the last 2 years. I'm very, very proud of that. We had record post-consolidation retention rate records, record 4 and 6 graduation rates. So not only were we attracting more students, but we were graduating more at a higher level, a percentage of graduation rates. Record faculty research awards. In fact, we just posted the highest number in the institution's history in research expenditures, and record fundraising last year. And this year, we're going to beat the record from last year. We completed facility projects, our engineering building, state-of-the-art, the Armstrong Rec Center, Williams Center, Memorial College. We're the first campus in the United States of America to open a Junior Achievement Discovery Center on campus for the 10 coastal regions. We're going to break ground on the Jack and Ruth Ann Hill Convocation Center in Statesboro and build our own indoor practice facility. And this last bullet is not just the engagement survey I talked about at a 70% participation and action plan development, but we implemented as a center pillar of our institution an inclusive excellence action plan that I'm really proud of at the center of what we're doing. And we're the first cabinet in the United States of America to receive the Certified Diversity Executive Certification course. All of my cabinet members, we went through this entire course, 170 questions. It was hard. We had a little bit of test anxiety as we went through this, but we grew. We grew ourselves and our perspectives to make sure we could be better leaders. This is Georgia Southern, and I want to think about this being your institution, serving this region in partnership with our incredible partners. You're going to hear from Kimberly Ballard Washington later today, incredible leader at Savannah State. Kathy Love at Savannah Tech does an incredible job. You have great leaders in higher education. Help us, help you, help us to be in a constant state of growth. This is the graphic that says it all. Hopefully, after all my waving my arms and talking, it means something to you. 6 values: sustainability, collaboration, excellence, innovation, integrity, inclusion. 5 pillars of our strategic plan: student success, inclusive excellence, operational efficiency, effectiveness, sustainability, community engagement, and teaching and research. And at the center of it is our vision statement. It is our culture. It is the reason and how we will be successful. People, purpose, action, growing ourselves to grow others. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Marrero. We have time for a couple of questions. Anybody have any questions? Everybody's hand goes up at once, I can tell.
Either that or they need a break.
We got one right back here. Hang on.
Yeah, just on the timeless things that don't change, that are stagnant. Do you see any of those evolving? As you think about your university and coming in through such a challenging time as well. Yeah, have any of those changed? Is there anything that can change kind of the foundation of what you guys do?
Sure. I mean, if we think about just our campus itself and the environment, each of our campuses are so distinctive, and we want to elevate that distinctiveness. Statesboro campus is a traditional campus, 3,000 Greeks, full FBS D1 athletics. Talk about change in athletics right now. Unbelievable change around that. And then our engagement of those students, and then Armstrong, what it means to have not just a traditional environment, but then that commuter environment that's serving an urban city and ensuring that we're progressing that. So for us, as we think about those timeless aspects of what we do so well in those environments, for us, athletics is key. I'll use athletics as an example. We have to think of name, image, likeness coming into play, suddenly what that means to student athletes and how we'll be competitive in that environment. But most importantly, our through line is always the student experience in that. Yes, we want to be winning in athletics. Eagle Nation wants us to be winning, but it's clear for us that if the student experience isn't quality, if they aren't getting a degree at the end of the day, we have failed in that. So that's the nugget we hold on to that can't change, but then we have to explore how do we stay competitive in those markets. So I'll use that as an example. Yes, sir. We're going to get you a microphone. There we go.
Of course, it was retirement research, but it was also research about where we want to spend most of the rest of our life, is how Georgia has so expanded the opportunity to get into colleges and universities. I mean, as far as just the numbers. With me growing up in the 50s, it wasn't, I left and went to Tennessee State and started. But anyway, but the question that bothers me when I sit and listen to like Political Rewind and listen to, the local news and whatever, the state news, you have a feeder system now that's continuing to expand. So more and more Georgian students will have the opportunity to go to one of the Georgia institutions and get a good education. And you talk about the need to, this culture, right, to create that culture. What's your take on this idea of getting someone who's finished 12 years of school, got a lot of chemistry, a lot of math, a lot of physics, great scores, but weren't allowed to learn the culture of their classmates during that period of time?
Yeah, thank you for that. Great question. For us, and this is part of the adaptation of what we're doing, are we doing enough? No. Do we need to do more? Yes. First year experience, we go through modules specifically to understand the cultures of the students that are there at Georgia Southern, becoming more and more diverse. I'm proud to say our last 2 freshman classes have been more diverse than they've ever been in the history of our institution. And for us, as an institution that's had a varied history, and again, transparency, we've had flashpoint incidents on our campus that we are not proud of and that have been difficult, but we've pressed into them and grown. We've talked about them. We've talked about what can we learn from this. And back to what Michael Thurman said is, and we're dealing with this culturally in society, and remember how I said, you can times it by 10 on a campus? It's, I meet with students, and they're like, Dr. Marrero, if you don't believe what I believe, then you're my enemy. No, I can love you. I can do everything I can to ensure that you're successful here. But I come with my beliefs, Christian, of what I believe, who I am, my background. My job is to ensure your path is never impeded in any way, shape, or form and support you to success. But that's what we're seeing. That's the hardest thing, is this polarization. And we're seeing affinity groups come together, wanting to be together. It's exactly what Michael talked about, is they'd rather be with people that have the exact same echo chamber viewpoints, even on our campuses as groups, than to come together and debate and dialogue and really challenge each other's beliefs in that. So that environment we're pressing into. How do we do that? How do we ensure these organizations, student organizations, meet, greet, discuss, debate, shake hands, have difficult dialogues? That's critical for us. And that's really at the ground level of cultural competency, of growth, of ensuring that all of our students feel that their voice can be heard, that they're supported, and that nothing will impede their path to success and aspirational dreams. Easier said than done, and a continuous journey and a marathon in working that. But every day, that's what we're fighting for. Thank you, sir. Hey, Michelle.
Dr. Marrero, you're such an energizer bunny. I mean, every time I see you, every time I talk with you, you're full of energy. So what do you do to recharge your batteries so that you as a leader can be full of great energy?
Sleep is important, but look, okay. My philosophy is every day, and I don't know how much time I have, but I had to tell you about my mother. Okay, my mother, May 19th, 2000, rollover car accident, incident, quadriplegic, C2 vertebrae. ICU for 18 months. We finally got her home. She lived 14 and a half years. Longest C2 vertebrae in North America injury, ventilator dependent, survived so far. Every day, every nurse, every doctor that met her, she lifted up and helped them feel better. And that's what energized her because of what she gave in terms of attitude of every day's a blessing. I'm going to make this day special. I still have an opportunity to impact people. And that just, any day I want to be tired, I want to feel like, how are we going to get through this? I think, man, I have nothing to worry about. And I press through it, and I pray every day, realign that, take that quiet time. That's important for me. So that's.
We have one more question right behind you.
Hi. I spent 3 years on the campus of Armstrong from 2017. I graduated in 2020. I'd spent a lot of time with the students there. My daughter is right now on the Statesboro campus. She's graduating in May. How much actual input in all that you've said do you speak to your students about? Because when I was there was the incident with the book burning. You all came down, we met up in the ballroom and all that kind of stuff. But there was a lot of unanswered questions for a lot of your students. My daughter and her friends are having issues with graduation and getting responses from their advisors. Some of these students are really having difficulties with this staff that you are leading. So how much time do you actually spend getting input from your students as to what they feel is going on with all this training and leadership that you're doing with your staff and whether it's working for them?
Thank you for that question. And it's a balance. And I don't know if I have it perfect. I don't. I'm trying every day to balance that. And how much, because if I don't get the staff piece right, then from the student perspective, they aren't getting the services they need on a basis. So holding them accountable through that, or a constant state of improvement, and let me know what I can do to, and let me get the names of your students so I can help them specifically. Yeah.
So I'm going.
Yes, I have a student advisory committee, I have SGA, and then I meet with students at least every 2 weeks. And so sit down, talk with groups, and I'm constantly on campus, meeting, greeting, and talking as much as I can. But, 27,000 students, 3 campuses, no excuse, and I want to do more. And so I thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Marrero, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions.